Hey, everybody, welcome on YouTube. Welcome on Zoom. It's your Friday agent update call. Excited to be here. Let me get this moved over. I've got a real cool green screen behind me, if you can see. Um, the reality is, that's a real view. I'm enjoying it for the first time right now. But working from Miami this week, we had a funding convention down here we had to attend, which has been very productive. And right now, working from our room. Hey, Airbnb, you can't argue with that. $101 to have a one-bedroom condo right on the beach in South Beach, or $101, cheaper than the hotels in the area. So check out Airbnb if you've never done it. If you don't mind staying in a place someone else owns, it's some good savings. So, and no, I'm not an affiliate of Airbnb, but maybe we need to become one. Um, anyway, I have some great updates for all of you, and really looking forward to what's releasing in the next few days, in coming weeks. Number one, great event. You know, we're down here for a funding event. Wade Cordell, myself, and McGuire came in to meet with some funding partners. Um, Significant meetings, made some great headway on some things. And what I want to share, first of all, if you're interested in our funding side, I want you to know that, and by the way, Sharon Morgan, is this background sunshine turning me into a silhouette, or is it fine?
You're fine.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I'll lean forward. Um, so real good meetings with a lot of the providers. And if you are a Bank Breezy promoter or DAC funding promoter, which hopefully you all are, it's really neat when you come to a convention and you have a lot of the providers and you talk to them. And um, like McGuire, who's brand new, walked out after, he goes, man, DAC is like, everybody's talking about DAC in there. And where you guys have built a reputation, a very positive reputation amongst all the funding providers. And we went and met with some of them. The founder of one of the companies pulled me aside and he goes, I just want you to know, anytime we get a deal that's, we know it's coming from Bank Breeze and Wade Cordell, it skips all of our primary underwriting and goes right to our final underwriting, because we know Wade wouldn't send a package over that isn't already meeting every one of our guidelines. And the only thing we got to do is background check and then verify their bank accounts, that they're not, fraudulent statements. But outside of that, we know, and that says a lot. And then I had other companies tell me the same thing. These are two of the people who do a lot of our funding, and one of the largest funding providers came to an event because they know we were there and they wanted to meet Wade. And it's, we've got a reputation that you guys have helped create by your volumes and by the quality of the customer we bring. Our default rate is very low in this industry because we bring a lot of clients, not all of them, but a lot of our clients are relationship customers and return visitors. So congratulations on that. I want you to know there's some industry change going on because of the instability with the election and with the rates the way they are. Our type of funding, the value of our funding goes way up during unstable times because banks stop. Banks take caution. Banks go back into their harbor and they tie their boats up. Where we go, there's a storm. Let's untie our lines and let's set out to sea. So you guys are in a unique opportunity right now between now and the election, and probably for a period of time afterward, where the banks, because of a lot of economic conditions, number one, but also the instability of, they don't know what's going to happen to interest rates afterward. They don't know what's going to happen if the Republicans win, what that does. I mean, this instability affects people. If I told you today that our farmers, this isn't the case, but if I said, I'm not going to use a product name because that could become edited and used, but if I told you a product we were marketing for $50 was going to become possibly $90 next week, would you want to tell a customer and stay that way forever? Would you want to tell anyone it's $50 right now? If it's going to change to 90 next week, no, you wouldn't want it. And it's going to stay 90. They don't keep 50. They're going to, price is going to change to 90. You'd feel uncomfortable talking to customers. Well, imagine you own a bank and you don't know if the money that you are loaning out is going to be able to earn this much interest or this much interest. And so you got to price it at which it could be very costly to have that money on the streets. And the default rates are going way up on big commercial loans because after COVID, vacancy rates went way up, meaning people left buildings and they just stopped paying rent. And now the people that own the building are like, I still got to pay the mortgage on this thing. And they're called non-recourse loans, which you know what that means? General Motors isn't, these business owners will just say they're not liable if they don't pay it. It's non-recourse. They can't do anything to you. They can try to collect, but in the end, they can't really, they can take the building back, but these people are walking away from buildings and hundreds of millions of dollars loans per building, right? So this is creating a tremendous amount of losses on the balance sheets of these big banks. They know it's coming. They just haven't had to write it off yet because these loans are up for renewal. 2024 and 25, a lot of these 7-year loans, 10-year loans are up to be rewritten. And these landlords can't afford them. So even if they haven't defaulted, they're not going to renew. They're not going to renew the loan because now the vacancy rate is so high that they're not bringing in near as much money, so they can't pay for the building at the cost. So that plus the economic conditions, banks are going, it was already hard. Now it's real hard. So what does that mean? For an opportunity standpoint, it's fabulous. But from a, we have working capital disease cure here. We have the cure for the working capital disease a business owner faces. You guys have that. And so you talk about our pharmacy program, a membership that gets people access to the pharmaceutical free for one flat fee. How about getting access to working capital to a business owner who's got brilliant ideas, has growth ideas, needs to grow, needs capital to bridge over a 60 or 90-day gap on a new project because they don't get paid till the project's done. And they need that 50 grand now so they can do that $300,000 project. And they don't have the 50 grand. So they got to say no to the project. It happens every single day. To those people, our money is the lifeblood of their continuation. And with that said, you have the answer. You have the answer. And I can tell you after walking through this convention and meeting with some of the founders and leaders of the industry, 3/4 of the providers I wouldn't represent. They're predatory. But the ones that are here, most of them are really good. But the predatory ones don't come. They don't come to things like this because they're in it for a few years and then they're out. They make their money. They do their thing. But for the good providers, we prevail. We can do funding in California. Most can't. Right? Because we follow the disclosures. We've got I know what we pay every month just to have the insurance. It's not cheap. And no individual ISO is going to do that. None of you would pay that monthly. You don't do enough funding to pay the monthly costs we have for protection in our business. So you guys, we thank you for being a part of this, but also be thankful for Bank Breezy and DAC for creating a path that you can be on without having to you personally have all those permits, insurances, etc. We're following all the regulations. You have to follow ours, but by following ours, you're following because we've on the back end done everything we need to do. So it's just every time I get around this industry, I feel reinvigorated with how good our product is and how good our Bank Breezy platform is and how good our internal team is. A couple of our top providers said if they see Wade, they click it out of the packet and put it right to the front because we don't need to do any of the junior underwriting stuff. Some still do, but for the most part, the biggest ones and the best ones say they have a way to know that we've submitted and they pull them out and put them to the front of the line. If someone doesn't know how to pull out Wade's deals, it's automation. There's no way they can do it, but they all love getting packages from us and they know they got to move fast. One guy said to me, he's an underwriter. He said, if I get a package from you guys, I know I'm going to be hearing from Wade. If I don't give him an offer, like within an hour, I know I'm going to be hearing from him. And I don't want him to have to make that call because I know other providers are getting the offer faster. And we fight for you guys because we know what you do. And obviously they're grateful and they're saying how hard they want to work for us. And they're, blowing smoke up our rear ends a little bit, trying to foster a great relationship with us. But the fact of that is they really do that too. So you guys are in good hands there. And yeah, you got to share the commission you get with our team, right? You don't make what you'd make if you went direct to one of these funders, but unless you want to buy the insurance, it'll cost you 15 grand a year. Unless you want to do all the registrations in all the states and have the background checks and all the FBI deals. And if you want to do all that and do all the paperwork and risk all the E&O insurance and the lawsuits, we average 1 or 2 lawsuits a year based on things reps say. And fortunately, we've won them all, or actually have had every one of them dismissed. But there's still a risk in being a business owner. So we say Bank Breezy does most of the work, you get most of the commission. But yeah, you don't get the whole amount. But if we find that about 1 out of every 3 packages we get in actually funds with our expert team and our system that already sorted out a lot. About 1 out of 3 actually gets funded, not gets approved. 80% get approved, but 1 out of 3 actually funds. Then you've got, a lot of them that come in, they didn't qualify. So they lied. We don't count them in our 80% approval, right? If they answer the questions accurately, 80% or more are approved. 80% of that group takes it, says, I'll take it. And then 7% of those are declined in final underwriting. So you can do the math. 80 times 80 is 64 times 93% is about 50 something percent. But that means there's a lot who apply and lie. And you would have to work with them. You'd have to take all your time with them. You'd have to get their bank statements. You'd have to do all the stuff that Bank Breezy does, only to find out they lied. And you don't find out they lied till you send it to the provider. And they go, dude, that's bogus bank statements. And you go, man, I just put 2 hours into this package. Yeah, that's part of the business. Well, that's why Bank Breezy is automated and we do a really great system. So yeah, we take away most of the work. All you have to do is market. You don't even have to present it. Last night they had at this convention I was at, they had a battle. They had a battle where they had some brokers come together and battle, meaning they talked to underwriters. They acted like they were talking to a customer about the disclosure forms. That was the biggest one. Well, I'm looking at this disclosure form. Have you guys ever even had to talk about a disclosure form with a customer? No. Have you ever had to talk about the fee schedule that's listed on the thing? No. Wade does that and his team do that every time. You've talked about the pricing range. You've talked about the term range. You've talked about the qualification requirements. That's the low-hanging fruit, simple stuff, right? It's the difficult thing that Wade's dealing with. I said to Wade, how many of these questions have you heard? He goes, all of them. I hear them all every day. Why is that fee on line 3 say this when you told me it was 1.35 and the APR says this or the simple interest rate says this? You said it was 1.35 times the money. Yeah, let's do the math, go through and look at it. But he's got to answer that every time, and it can be overwhelming when you first hear it. I heard some of those questions like, oh man, how are you going to answer that? I've never had to answer it. DAC has done thousands of fundings, and I don't know how to answer most of the questions a customer asks when they have the contract in front of them. You don't either. You don't need, now, I don't want to presume. Some of you maybe have been in this industry a while and you know what the questions are and you've heard them all. But if I were to go on a stage and compete and battle for network marketing, bring it. Business funding, getting a customer to apply, absolutely. I'd hang with anyone in my opinion. Of course I wouldn't, but in my opinion, I'm confident enough to. But once they've got their offer in hands, get me out of the way. I've only presented the offer to maybe 200 customers in my career, 200. And of those 200, I was dumbfounded on half the questions until I'd been doing it for 100 of them or 150 of them. Because how do you answer certain questions that someone saw on line 3 of the contract? You got to know every contract, everything. You can't go, what does it say? Hang on, let me pull out the agreement and see what, man, I'm gonna have to call the funder and find out what that means. Which is what new people have to do. Wade and his team don't have to do any of that. They don't have to do any of that. They already know it all. And you don't have to do any of that by referring. So we've really got a neat thing. Now, what I'm going to encourage you all do is recognize that. If you came to this event and saw what the brokers have to do, the agents like you have to do now, they can get 8%. So can you. Matt DeHane, double amp. Good job, buddy. He's at 7% now of the funding or 70% of bonus revenue. Yeah, you could come here and you get 8, 9, even 10%. If you want to handle everything, you go, man, I'm only getting 4 and you can get 8, 9, you can get 8% here and they're on your team who gets 8%. That doesn't exist anywhere. but it does here. So, and you don't have to do all the work. You don't have to go through all the training. If you're only going to fund 5 or 6 deals a year, you will not get enough deals. And like I said, I've talked to 200 clients. I probably submitted or presented, maybe not that many, maybe 120 to 150 funding deals to the client, where I was the Wade Cordell or the Bank Breezy. I was the one in DAC's early days that did it all, from collecting the documents to sending it out. So to have to do all that, is it worth it for the extra couple points? And you can't build a team, you're liable for that. So here we think we've got the greatest thing, as long as you recognize that. Now, if you feel, nah, I don't intend to build a team and I want to handle all that, those headaches and all that, well, then I can see why someone may, if you can find some providers who will take you. The reality is they're usually, you can't get in most of the good providers. You know, and we've got providers. I had one pull me aside. He goes, hey, just so you know, we've had people from DAC come to us. And we look and we find out who they are. And we tell Wade, because we do background checks on everyone. If we see they were in DAC a year ago, we're not allowing them to join us. They're already with us. So, and we'll tell you if we ever see it and someone's trying to do that. So it causes embarrassment and all that. So the bottom line is you've got a real good situation, and we do too, because we earn off every funding as well. And just like if you built a team of 100, you benefit from those 100. So do I. I benefit from those 100 and I benefit from you. And guess what? You benefit from me. Why? Because I work for free for DAC. Everything you have is on my risk. It's 100%. Every lawsuit that's coming in has mentioned David Rutz, not you. And I've taken responsibility for every one of those. You don't have to, even if the person's in your team, which every lawsuit we've had has come from an independent agent who had an upline, and none of you ever were responsible for that. It was on me. So if you can recognize how good that is, that we are your supplier, and you go, man, I've got the right supplier. If you believe you've got the right supplier, I've got the right supplier. They make sure the funding tree is the right tree. They make sure the integrity is there. They make sure that the legal is covered. They make sure the registrations in each state are handled, the licensing, all that. They make sure all that's handled. All we got to do is bring a client to our website to apply. And they even present the offer and deal with all the tough questions on every provider we represent. If you can recognize that and go, I'm putting my head down and I'm going to refer more people to this business than anyone else in this company. I'm going to be the number one referrer. And if I refer 20 people who meet the eligibility requirements and have a good use of capital, I know that if they really meet it, I know 50% of them are going to be funded, actually take the money. I know that 64% will say yes. 93% of them will be approved and actually get it. So over 50% of everyone who applies who really meets the qualification. So I'm going to really encourage do you have bounce checks? How many? What is your revenue monthly? What is how long you've been in business? Are you really doing that much revenue? Is that revenue or is that transfers from other accounts? I mean, is it real? If you can hold your ground and be confident enough to question people and qualify what they're going to do with the funds. Hey, how much you think you can get me? Well, that really depends on what you're going to be doing with the money and how much sales you're doing right now. What do you plan? What do you need the money for? Oh, I need it to do this. How soon do you need it? I need it like within a week. Bank loans are gone. Doesn't matter if they're eligible or not for bank loans. If they need it in a week, that's already gone. So if you can qualify people, how much they need, how much they're doing, and if someone's doing $40,000 a month and they say they need 2 million, if you can be smart enough to go, we're not going to be able to get you 2 million. We could probably get you 40 grand. Could that help you in any way? I know you need 2 million, but could 40 grand help get you along the way? Or get you a deposit on something that could give you terms on that 2 million. I don't know what you need it for, but you can't get 2 million in the world unless you're going to put up collateral of at least $2 million. No one's going to give you 2 million just because. You got to give them a piece of property worth at least 2 million. So if you can have this type dialogue and be a pro and not be excited that someone's interested, but instead be a pro and qualify them and let them know money just doesn't happen. You got to be eligible for it. Now, we just happen to have the best eligibility. If your cash flow creates an eligibility, you'll be approved. Your cash flow, not whether you're approved. If your cash flow justifies it, you can get more money. If your cash flow justifies it. I heard that yesterday. I'm like, I'm going to use that. I've never said it that way before. If your cash flow justifies it, if your revenue justifies it, well, do you think you give me 50 grand? Well, that depends on whether your cash flow and revenue justifies it. Wow, I love it. That would save me so many conversations of reiterating the point. So, um, just wanted you to know that you've got a great system. Now, if you could say, I'm going to be the one who refers the most, and I'm not just going to refer one or two, I'm going to be out there talking and I'm going to educate. I'm going to do some videos on my Facebook wall. I've said this to many of you, and I go to your Facebooks and I don't see any videos on DAC. I'm like, how can they say they're actively promoting DAC when they don't even use the biggest broadcast network in the world, Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, and do a message? How can they say they're serious? Just because we say that's not the most effective way doesn't mean. I got a call today. I was sitting on the patio out here doing some Bible study with Marlo, and I got a text. And she went in to get some coffee for us. So I glanced at it real quick, right? And it's 7 a.m. and it's my buddy back at home. He used to be the VP of a major healthcare company, hospital network in Michigan. And then he left that company to become the president of another major network in Michigan. And he said to me, how much do you want to sell your pharmacy company for? Because I know everyone in healthcare, and this thing, I've never seen anything like this. I just want to buy it and retire. That's what his words were. And I laughed. Ha ha. He was my college roommate. I said, ha ha. He goes, I've seen you do a lot of things, but this is the one that he's an officer in one of the largest healthcare companies in Michigan. Hospital networks. And so he's the one, Morgan, who asked about the Adderall. He's got a friend who's underinsured and needs Adderall. And so that's why I sent you that text along with Avery. But the long and short of it is, guys, you've got your hands on some spectacular things. And most of us, just like when you have a great partner in your relationship and you don't realize it till they break up with you, just like when you have a great car and you don't realize it till you get a different one that's brand new, it's a lemon. Just like when you had great times with your kids until the Christmas tree is no longer kids sitting around it trying to open it, and you recognize that empty nest is empty, and that you have to find ways to find gratitude and other things. Some of you don't recognize how good Bank Breezy is. Some of you don't get it. And some of you don't recognize how good this flat free pharmacy is. Many of you do. That's why you're here. But in fact, most of you probably do because you're watching the video. But you demonstrate you get it by the conversations you have. You demonstrate that you get it by the conversations you have, the quantity. So let me give you some updates. Pharmacy card, a pharmacy program. When people join the pharmacy membership, they are joining, and that information is sent before they get their card, their name, their independence names, or their dependents names, their genders. Everything is sent to every pharmacy, 64,000 pharmacies in the country before they get that email that they're welcome. That's why it takes till 4:30 the next business day. The card, when it arrives at their house, has to be usable. They could grab that and go right down to CVS and they go, you don't get this discount. You don't get that for free. And so it's got to be sent. That means, number one, it can't be instant. It's got to be the next business day, 4:30. Number one. Number two, that also means if someone signs up not on your site, we can't just move credit to you. It can't just be moved. The only way, if someone goes direct to My Free Pharmacy and joins, inadvertently, whether it's your mother, your son, your neighbor, whatever, if they go join directly and you tell us, hey, they joined directly, and we reach out to My Free Pharmacy, they go, that's great, but the only way you guys can get credit for it is if they cancel and re-enroll again. And we've been for the last 2 weeks trying to find another way around that. It's not doable. It's not doable without a lot of manual work per time. And they're just not going to do it. And we're not going to ask them to do it. I mean, it would take 4 or 5 days, a lot of emails to pharmacies, making sure they remove that person's name with this. There's not this system out there that just deletes customers in the pharmacies. So they'd show up and they wouldn't be of record, to be the wrong bin codes, wrong different things. And they'd tell them they weren't approved, just like someone who didn't pay for their membership, even though they're paying for it. So we can't do that. The only way is if they cancel and re-enroll. So if you've got anyone who says, I joined, and you find out, email support. So you're not seeing them in their system, email support, we're emailing them. And if we find out that they did enroll at My Free Pharmacy Direct, which they can show where they enrolled, when, the website, all that, then they're going to have to cancel and re-enroll. Okay. Unfortunately, so that means we got to be real mindful of making sure people, you send them your link, tell them to click on my link. That way me and my company can get appropriate credit and you can get the appropriate pricing, so, and then our company can be your support network along with me, that type thing. So that's unfortunate, but it's the reality. Because of that, and because we've had a handful of people, we only know of 3 who've gone to My Free Pharmacy Direct and signed up, but they did it accidentally because they didn't know. So we've pulled the My Free Pharmacy logo from all of our brochures, and we've pulled it from the top of our website. And over time, we're going to read through the website and see what else might need to be pulled to not make it so easy for someone to leave the website, come back 4 days later, remember to type My Free Pharmacy. We want them to have to go right to your site. We're going to bury that name in there where it needs to be buried. It's on the order now page because it has to be, because the credit card is being billed by them, not us. But outside of that, we're going to suppress that logo as much as we can. With that known, if you've already printed some brochures and business cards, we understand. A lot of people have. That doesn't mean you don't have to use them, but just know that as you go forward, there may be a person or two who never tells you they signed up and they go to My Free Pharmacy Direct, and there's no way we would know it. If you find out later down the road, you joined a My Free Pharmacy and you check, they're not going to be able to give you credit for those 7 months or 3 months or 15 months or 30 days that they've been on it. They're going to have to cancel and re-enroll. They've already given credit to someone else. And unfortunately, the pharmacy cards have already been sent to the pharmacist. And there's certain ways that people are, just like with us, we pay different people based on qualifications. There's different things they have. They just can't unwind it as easy as we would hope. We also have an issue with their API system. API is when software connection, the computers talk to each other. And there's no way to know it's broken until we get an error code and we figure, why is that there? We've had some customers show up twice in the same month where they'll order it on one day and you'll see it in your back office. And then 5 days later, you'll see it again as a second customer. We're trying to discern what's causing that. And we've got the IT teams. We know they're sending us the signal twice. So it's not like our system's reporting it incorrectly. We're reporting what they're sending, but they shouldn't send it to us 5 days apart. It should be now and 30 days later, right? When they renew again. So some of you may see same customer on twice, and you know that one's going to be pulled. Other times you'll see someone not on who ordered. Send us the email. We'll go to them and we'll find out. And they show them ordered in your system, but some reason their system didn't talk to ours and tell us. So every time, but a handful, I think it's 3 times where someone said, hey, I ordered, I had a customer order, it's not shown in my back office. We mentioned it to them and they go, yeah, we showed them in DAC. What do you mean it's not in your back office? Why isn't it showing? Our system sent you the signal and we go check and we show, no, your system didn't send us the signal. So we got to figure out what's causing that. We didn't get our system didn't send you a reject code. So something is in their API system, which they built to talk with our computer. A lot of confusion here, I know, but just know that this is called ironing it out. Eventually we can set the iron down. But right now, unfortunately, when you launch something new, as much as we tested, we had over 100 submissions tested into our system, renewals tested. As much as you do that, they make a change on their order form or their credit card processor makes a little change in how they signal a processing, because that's what caused a couple of them was their credit card processor. So just know that until we see moving parts need to be secured, sometimes they bust something. So we're on it. You'll get credit for it, even if that means we got to catch you up. Like Ellen Wynn, when she first started, she was when she first started with the Clear Choice Healthcare, she was one of our first customers, and it took her, I think, 4 months before she got her first commission, 5 months, because they had to build their commissioning reporting system to us. But once we did, we paid her all those months at once. So there could be some things like that we think we've got most of them ironed out. Here's something that you've got to be mindful of. This is, I'm still trying to think of a solution, but this is the way it is right now. When someone orders the pharmacy product, let's just say today's the 11th, right? 12th. They ordered on the 12th. What their system does is sends us a signal on the 12th that it's ordered. You get $10 residual revenue qualified on the 12th for this month toward your qualification. They're billed every month, but they didn't set up their billing system for our company's qualification. They set it up for the way it really works in real life, where people's credit cards are declined, people's credit cards don't work, their debit card balance was negative. So what they do is say, we're going to bill them again 30 days later, but we're not going to call the termination date till 34 days later, the termination date. Because if someone's credit card doesn't work, they try again, they tell them, and if at day 34 they don't pay, their membership's closed, all the pharmacies are told they're done. Their account's not active. So they got to add a few extra days. Otherwise, they get user experience that's awful because a customer didn't know their card was declined. They didn't know, and now their account's shut down and their membership doesn't work after 30 days exactly. So they buy some time. They put an end date of 34 days and they start telling them, we're going to bill your card, etc. Well, let's look at this for a minute. Signing up on the 12th is no big deal if we get credit. You get credit the day they pay. Not 30 days from their original order, the day they pay. So let's say they order on the 12th, and the 12th of next month, they go to run their credit card and their debit card doesn't work. Okay, they send a message to them, and then on the 13th, they try again, doesn't work. 14th, they try again. Also, on the 15th, it works. When do you get credit in DAC? The 15th of the next month. Okay, which is no problem. But what if someone orders on the 28th of the month? And now the 28th of next month, so you got $10 in residual revenue on the 28th, but now the 28th of next month, they try. And it doesn't work. And the 29th, it doesn't. And the 30th doesn't. And the month is over. And it doesn't work till the 1st. Now all of a sudden, you don't get residual credit. So let's say January 20 or December 28th, they ordered. But January 28th, the credit card didn't work, nor the 29th, nor the 30th, nor the 31st. And it wasn't until the 1st that it did work. Would you get credit in January? No, you'd only get credit in February when they pay. So we get notified the day of payment, not the day of the anniversary. We don't pay unless they pay. We paid on collected revenue. So there will be times when you sign someone up at the end of the month. If you're right on the, you're right at the $100 level with 10 customers and some of them signed up at the end of the month, you just got to know next month, all 10 of those may not renew before the end of the month. Even though they're supposed to, their credit card may not work. And you may only get 8 who pay their credit cards and the 2 of them are in the beginning of next month. And it's the 2nd. And guess what happens on the 2nd? When they pay on the 2nd, even though they originally started on the 29th, and now the next month they didn't make it on the 29th, they don't pay till the 2nd. Their 30-day window starts from the 2nd now. Now they're not going to be billed to the 2nd of the next month. Sometimes they'll pay early. But so you can see how there's a trailing, I won't call it auto ship date, but a trailing renewal date. And that trailing renewal date could change month over month. So you could have someone at the end of the month eventually move into the next month for when they're purchasing. So just know that in your qualifications, we're trying to find a way around it, but they don't do the payment processing. This is how their renewal payment processor does it. So there's going to be times when someone orders the end of the month and the end of the next month, you're not going to get credit for them because they didn't yet pay. Hopefully that's clear. So, we used to, when we did sign up where you could pick your own auto ship date, we don't do this with this pharmacy card, but when you could pick it, we would tell people always pick it by the 10th to 15th. So you'd have time to requalify if they didn't do their volume. So just know this, you want to have more customers than you need in case a couple of their credit cards don't go through. I guess that's the moral of the story. In case their credit cards don't go through, have more customers than the minimum you need. All right. I covered that. Group enrollment process in RX. This will be the last update. And by the way, this will all be put in the training document on this product. But it's not yet, but it's going into the training document on RX product. Group enrollment process. Okay, so we've been working with them for over a month, since the first Tuesday of last month, on the group enrollment. And this is how it's going to work, but it's not live yet, but just start planning this now in your marketing. If it is going to be a non-employer paid plan, When a business comes to our system, they're going to have a group enrollment page, and there's going to be one fork in the road going to two different buckets. The first bucket is, are you going to pay for this as the employer? We'll come back to that one. The second bucket is, you're not paying for it. The employees are going to pay for it themselves. That's going to go into a DAC system where we communicate with that business owner what they need to do to refer our service to all their employees. And it's going to be incumbent on you as the agent in DAC to help them understand how to get their clients to enroll. There's going to be no inventory discounts, no savings discounts, because there's no guarantee of how many people are going to sign up. So it's going to be a regular enrollment, but the employer is going to have a way to promote that to all of their employees. You are the agent of record, so you will get credit on every one of those employees as individual customers. So it may be 30 customers at $10 each, 300 residual revenue, right? From a 70 employee company, maybe 30 of them decide to sign up for it. Okay. But so that's how the bucket's going to go. Now, if the employer is paying, oh, by the way, in that bucket, we have a number. And if they have over 5,000 employees, even if it's voluntary, then of course we start a three-way conversation with the pharmacy company. Under 5,000 employees, they've said, we've seen this all too many times, and we can't invest a lot of time into everyone who says they want to check it out that has 5,000 employees. You and your agents are going to have to do that and educate them enough on the product. This is not a tough product to understand. They look at your website, they know whether they want to offer it to their employees or not. And if they do, we'll show them, the enrollment process, whether it's 50 employees or 5,000 is the same. You're offering them a link and an educational tool in DAC. So we've got that. But if there's over 5,000 and a personnel department wants to talk, and sometimes even if it's under, the rule of thumb is 5,000 or more, we can get a three-way call with the pharmacy company. If the pharmacy is going to pay for it themselves. So this is how it's going to work. Remember, first bucket is employees are paying. And if it's big enough, then we're going to involve the pharmacy company to help talk to the employer. But if it's not that big, we're not going to talk to them. The second one is the employer is going to pay. If the employer is going to pay, then at a certain size, they get involved and help take over. But on small ones, 3 employees, 10 employees, 15 employees, each employer is going to be given their own portal where they can make that available to their employees, and the employees can add their, because they need all their dependents. It's a what do you call it, HIPAA compliant enrollment form that employer needs to make available to all their employees, or their payroll department needs to enter, or their healthcare department, the third party administrator. Someone has to enter all that because they can't give it to us, and it's got to be entered by the employer who's paying for it. So usually it's a spreadsheet or an upload. So just so you know that it's going to be 2 buckets. Employee paid is DAC, you and me. Employer paid is a system set up to give them their own portal. But if they have questions, like, yeah, I may want to offer this to my employees. They're going to pay for it, but I want to learn more before I offer it. We're gonna be supporting them, and we'll be able to pull in 3-way calls, as I said. Same if it's employer paid. The smaller ones, we're not gonna get the top brass of this pharmacy company to jump on every phone call. They're not built for it. They don't want to do it. For someone who's got 7 employees, they make less than you do. They can't be jumping on every call we want, or hire the staff to do it, because the revenue they make on the ones that do come forward doesn't pay for it. So we've got to earn. They give us so much commission. They said, if we on those paid you guys a lot less and we hand it off, then we could pay people to do it. But you've got all these agents, they can learn the value of the product. That's really all people need to know. Is when we're talking to these massive companies, they want to know how the value touches their employee. And if the value touches their employee, they just want to know the enrollment process and the quantity discount if they're paying for it themselves in size. So there's not a heavy lift, but we're not going to hire people up and pay you what you're paying you. We just can't do that. So, which I understand. So we're agents, we're the affiliates. We earn for referring people to it. If we want to earn on 6,000, 5,000, or 60 or 70 employees, then we got to know if the employer is paying for it. it's one process. If the employee's not, it's another. We are going to outline this in the document, but we now finally have it outlined, so we can start building out the forms now on the front end, because we didn't know how we were bifurcating them, I guess it is, where we are sending them. All right, so that's all I can say about that. Now there'll be more things as we go forward on how do we set up those three-way calls and all that. We'll get all that as we know. So it's been a lot of updates. I don't have anything else for you right now, except know that a lot of progress is happening, and it's all fun. I this morning I had 2 more trainings completed by 6 a.m. this morning, so we're getting a lot of stuff done, and it's all coming, and we plan to just drop it all. So just hang tight. We'll have some reviews and reviews by teammates, that is, before we drop it, but just know that there's a lot happening, even if it feels like it's not. All right, any questions about anything I've talked about? I'd like to clarify if anything wasn't clear, and then we got a lunch meeting with a couple funding people. Man, you guys have been no questions. A lot of questions. Ellen Wynn, how you doing, Ellen?
I'm great, David. Good news always. Hey, clarification on what size group is it that they will have their own employer page to market it to their, because you were talking
No
smaller,
minimum.
5,000. There's no
No,
minimum.
no minimum if they're paying themselves.
Okay.
We're going to have an automated process where we give them a link to their portal, where then they go in and they can sign up all their employees right there, or their employees can sign up, and you'll get credit for all the employees that join, of course, and the employer pays. The commissions will vary. As you can imagine, someone with 50 employees isn't going to discount. They're not going to get a discount, but someone with 3,000 or 4,000, I think he said 10,000 is where the discount really starts to matter. 5,000, they could possibly get a discount. So it all depends on different things. 5,000 70-year-olds cost them a lot more than 5,000 blue collar 20 to 30-year-olds. So
Sure.
they got to look at their costs, because remember, they're covering everything and they're betting on what it's going to cost them to provide all this medication. They're buying it. They don't get it all for free. So they pay for every plastic bottle and label and pharmacist and pill that goes out, and they bought them all. So we can't say what the discount's going to be. And if someone else, if one group gets a discount and they're only paying $14.99 per customer, obviously your commission will go down per customer, but they'd have thousands of them. That doesn't mean someone else who's got more employees is going to get the same discount, because it depends on the age of the employees, and there's a lot of things involved, because it's just like writing insurance for someone. Even though it's not insurance, they gotta guess what it's going to cost them to provide this program.
I would say having a group that is large enough to give a discount and we have reduced commissions would be an excellent opportunity.
Good thing. It's a good
Yeah, I have
thing.
a question. Any update on the fundraising process for the RX program?
Yeah, the IT team unfortunately has had some other things because of the RX not and some other organizations. So we've not finished the enrollment form. As I already said, we've already paid for most of it. So I would just say that it's in process, but it's not. We'd said 1 to 2 weeks, and we're at the 1 week mark. So he's not ready yet. And until he's ready, we can't go live with it, of course. But it is on next week's agenda as the top item. The training book, and if the group enrollment's passed down a little, fundraiser goes before group enrollment as far as our priorities.
Awesome.
So,
thank you so much for the
thank you.
updates. Safe travels on your way home.
Thank you. Christopher, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, David. Again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. My question is regard to the website, and I'm sure it probably would take a long time, but I noticed like we have dachealthcare.com. Do you foresee in the future that we could go DAC business funding, DAC payment processing, and I forgot what the other one was. Yeah, but those three specifically. I know it's hard because you would have to dedicate, so to speak, a website to each page. But any comment?
The website's the easy part, frankly. The replication of the website, what we have to pay for that is per site. So we doubled our cost by having the replicated site at DAC Healthcare because our suppliers who provide that system to us have to build a whole new thing. And so we have to pay, we're paying more because we've got that extra site. So it won't happen. The volume is not there to justify right now. I would say if you want that, which I've got replicated, like I got yesdac.com as a site I reserved, goes right to my funding page. I've got another one goes right to my healthcare page. So I'd say if you feel a need to have that, which I understand, you could go to GoDaddy and for $10 a year, buy your own domain name, Chris's Healthcare, Chris's Pharmacy, Chris's LOCs, Chris's, you can name every one of our services and have them point to that particular page. We do replicate every page, so you can send someone directly there, but we're not going to build 6 or 5 different DAC Healthcare, DAC Pharmacy, DAC Funding, DAC Line of Credit, DAC Instant Funding. We're not going to do that because each one has a exponential cost. Plus, it creates confusion. We did that early on in DAC, and we decided we got to pull that. We got to go back to healthcare and funding. They're 2 different industries completely. We get it. If we moved into, let's say we moved into life insurance, then I bet we'd have a DAC, life.com or something. So if it's a completely different industry, we plan to have, a different website for it. But if it's a financial product, it'll be David Allen Capital. If it's a healthcare, it's going to be DAC Healthcare.
No, thank you for that suggestion.
Yep. And I want to explain why too. It's confusing, but also it's very costly because each one of the sites has to be replicated and supported. Building it's easy. Fred, how you doing, Fred?
I'm doing great, Dave. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Hey, by the way, when we're done with your question, I'm going to go out on the patio so you can feel what's going on at 12:15. It's been going on since 9 a.m. But go ahead, Fred.
Okay, dude. I have 2 questions. My second question is, if I bring a large group in and I have talked with them and got them to agree to the $19.95 and the $29.95, is it my call for them not to go through the discount way, or is that DAC and or the pharmacy company's call?
Yeah, so the only way to get a discount is if the employer is paying for it, and there's thousands of people they're paying for it. They're not going to get it for 300 people. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
So just so you know, if you get someone like Best Buy and you're talking and they want to make it available to all their part-time employees and there's 95,000 of them, right? Then obviously they're going to want a price for their customers, or they're paying for it. They're going to want a price lower. Where they don't get a discount is when it's called voluntary, when it's up to the employee to pay for it. They're not going to get a discount. But if it's non-voluntary, employer paid, they determine that with the pharmacy company if it's large. But if it's a smaller one, they get a portal. We give them a portal. They could be 2 employees.
Correct.
Get a portal, and they're not getting a discount at all. It's assumed there's no discount. It's assumed there's no discount unless it's large.
Okay.
Right.
And my first question was, if I am working with an agent and we are going out and I'm teaching them how to go in and get, make the call to the business owner and or the HR person, is it any way for us to split the commission?
You and them?
Yes.
Unfortunately, there's not built in. It would be a manual calculation each month. We're not willing to do that. So the only way to do it is if you guys, one person's the enroller and the other one's the agent. So, you as the enroller get anywhere between 20 and 50% of my personal commission, of my 20%. So I'm making $2 minimum on every customer. You're getting 20 to 50% of that. So you could get up to $1. So that's a 1/3, 2/3 split, but there's no way unless you were partners in the position and you got paid one check. But no, there's no way to say we want this amount to go here and this amount to go there. The only way to do that is for them to give you, let's say you're the enroller and I'm below you and we've got this agreement. Then at the end of the month, we look and I made $700 on all the customers. You as my enroller got 300. Between us, we've made 1,000, but you only got 3 and I got 7. I write you a check for $200 and 1099 you at the end of the year. So it's a private deal between you and them.
Okay. All right.
Make sense?
I've been in the insurance business for 49 years, and I have never seen anything like this.
That good.
I've got
That's
my
something?
I've got my free diabetic kit. My medication are all free. Anyone that doesn't do this, that's paying for medication, is something wrong with them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. I'm going to go outside for a minute. You can feel Miami for a minute. This is noon. I got to work through this. It's right outside my patio. I'm trying to do Zooms. Fortunately, they got hurricane-proof windows. Not bad though. A lot of people loving Friday Beach. I'm gonna go home and shovel the snow. But right now I got work to do. I got to go meet some people for a funding meeting right now. Appreciate you all, guys. Have a great week. We'll see you Monday on the RBP Go Getters call.